And as I was there and I was looking down and feeling this desire to know, I felt a tug, something pull just a little bit from my left. And I resisted it. I'm like, no, I want to stay. And it pulled harder. So I knew at that point that it wanted me. It wanted me to go. So I said, okay. And then I started moving, super fast. Like the people say it is imperceptibly fast, through the wall and into this white, bright flash of light. And then through there into this dark space that was all particles, like me, but very dense. And I was speeding along and just imperceptibly fast. And I'm looking, and to my left, there was the particles, and then it would become fluid, like whitish gray, black, fluidy, and then it would be dense again. And there was no boundary around me. There wasn't, it wasn't a tunnel. It wasn't a room. It wasn't, anything that I could name. It felt like I was condensed and then expansive all at the same time. Then I got to a point where I just stopped suddenly, and I had this download, and it felt like a funnel of information. And it came to where, and again, I had vision. That's all I had. It sort of entered myself, me, my consciousness. And I felt like all the questions I'd ever had in my life had been answered. And everything boiled down to love. That was the answer to everything. And I just felt this bliss like come over me. It was just this amazing, beyond words description of divine bliss. I felt like it was home, like it was me and everything. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then my attention was drawn to this white light off to my left and ahead, or to my right and ahead. And it sort of drew me to it. I felt compelled to go. And as I moved towards it, it got bigger, and it was sort of roundish and cloudy gray in the opening. And then I saw these shadow figures in it, and there were like taller ones around in the back, and then a smaller one in the front. And it was a figure of a little boy, and he had what looked like a wide brim hat on and overalls. That's the sense I got. And he needed my help, and I wanted to help him. So as I got closer, I moved in, and he and the rest of the shadow beings sort of fanned out off to the left. They sort of made a line and allowing me into the space. So I went in there, and I was there and stopped and sort of looked around, and I sensed everything was through feeling, and I could see. So I felt like the boy was gone, and I felt the desire of all the other shadow beings, of wanting my help. And instantly my response of feeling back was, I want to help you. And then they started to sort of move at me and dart away and move towards me and dart away. And what they were doing was they were taking my energy. They were stealing my particles, what I was, my essence. And there was no panic. There was no fear. There was no anger or anything. I had compassion and love for these beings. And then I felt, I don't want to be here. I felt like I was going to diminish in there. And that was not what I wanted for myself. So I wanted to leave. I had the feeling of wanting to leave. And then I was pulled out of there again, the same way I was pulled out of the operating room on the labor and delivery floor. And so I left that space, and I was back in the dense particle space. And then I went through, very quickly this time, I went through another opening that was dark, round again, and merged out into a gorgeous landscape. I call it my Eden because it was just divinely beautiful. And there were yellow flowers out in front of me, and a rocky waterfall with moss, green moss on it. And off to my right, there was a deep, dark evergreen forest. And far out beyond the flowers were green rolling hills, and it was dotted with trees. And then a blue sky, and it was like a hologram, but it was me. And I felt like I merged with all of it, all of the flowers and the rocks and the moss and the trees and everything. And it was just divine. It was still, blissful. I was just so in love with all of it. And then I was flanked on both sides by these beings, and they were like my guides, my spirit guides, angels. And they were there to support me. They were there completely for me. And again, this is the feeling I had. They were beige and tall and drapey, and they didn't have any distinct faces, but they were communicating, again, through feeling. You can stay here. You can go to what comes next. You can go to what lies beyond, or you can go back where you came from. And I didn't know what I had come from. I had no memory of the life here. I didn't know what came after this Eden. And I felt like I could stay in the Eden just eternally. However, I chose to come back.